Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now to review newspaper headlines with the Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day's National Limited Group Executive Director, Mr. Kade Komolafe.
Good morning, Adiswa.
Good morning,
sir.
Good
morning, Steve.
Good morning, KK. Welcome to the Sunday tonic for the newspaper review.
I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. We're missing the two other angels, Ojinika and Chief Atigari, who hopefully will join us next week. So we go straight into the newspaper review, and we're starting as always with This Day. On Sunday, let's take it from the window story, from top to bottom, as I normally will say. Hike in electricity tariff will worsen living conditions, cost of doing business, say Afenifere, Lagos Abuja Chambers of Commerce. Timing of tariff hike wrong, Ndume insists. NERC directs discos to refund overbilled consumers within 4 days. KK, this is one story that we will also encounter at least in two other major newspapers, I think Guardian.
Well, virtually all.
Virtually all. And we can run away from it, especially when you have what looks like communications issues, with the ministry and in particular the Minister of Power and all the ideas about removing AC, removing freezers, even, charging your phone at half-mast, Those are the ideas that it looks like the minister, is camper.
It's the era of rationing.
Of rationing. And the question will be that how much the elected officials, including the minister, how much of rationing are they carrying out in terms of what they are doing, the cars they're using and stuff like that. I mean, your views will be important, KK. But other stories, WHO mobilizes private investors for Nigeria's healthcare. That story is on page 5. We just had Dr. Wunono earlier on the program to discuss the significance of today's World Health Day celebration. Under the masthead, Tinubu to observe Eid al-Fitr in Lagos. And I think that the president is coming in today. We're not sure yet what days the holidays will be. Some people are saying Tuesdays and Wednesdays. If the Ramadan ends on the 29th, some are saying Wednesdays and Thursdays. But what is important is that the Jagaban of Nigeria will be in town, home base in Lagos, for the 4 days, hopefully, that the celebrations will last. Under that story, Kwakwanso, NMPP is alternative to failed PDP, failing APC. Says with necessary motivation, military has capacity to end insecurity. That's coming from yesterday's rebranding of NMPP, which took place in Abuja. A lot of issues came out of that, including the breakfast that has been served the governor of Kano, the former governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Ganduje, who's now the chairman of APC. The lead story itself, this day, says palpable tension as Atiku, Wike's camps fight for control of PDP ahead of NEC meeting. Stakeholders fear FCT ministers' control of party structure may weaken main opposition party. Suswan Abba battle to succeed Ayu. That's the main story. That's the lead for this day. The trouble with PDP and the battle ahead. I think we shouldn't leave the paper without, of course, saying congratulations and happy 65th birthday to the wife of the former governor of Oyo State, Mrs. Florence Ajimobi. She celebrated, I think, yesterday, her 65th birthday. And in this picture, she has with her the Imo State Governor, Senator Hope Uzodinma, with his wife, Chioma, during the birthday celebration in Ikoyi, Lagos yesterday. You recall, sir, that Ms. Ajimobi lost her husband during the COVID brouhaha in 2020. All right. So, I mean, it's good to see her, being celebrated and being happy now 3 days after the departure, 3 years after the departure of her husband. And she looks good at 65. So, congratulations to Mrs. Florence Ajimobi. Those are the stories on the cover of today's This Day, sir.
Thank you, Steve. I think I agree with you that congratulations will be in order to Mrs. Ajumobi, as we wish her, good health, joy and peace at 65.
Yes.
Looking at the front page of this day, this morning, from the perspective of human development, perhaps the most important story there is the one that is just a strip, and that is that of the WHO mobilizing the Nigerian private sector,
yes,
towards a more efficient, a more equitable healthcare delivery system.
Yeah.
The program, as initiated by the WHO representative in Nigeria, is that the WHO will collaborate with the Nigerian private sector in what is called the Private Sector Alliance.
Yes.
And the focus will be, actually the program is that of adopting a healthcare center in each of the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. And the idea is that in every local government, you will have at least one healthcare center that will meet the global standards,
yes,
in terms of healthcare delivery. I think this is quite worthwhile, and I think this is a collaboration that should be encouraged.
Yeah.
Because just like Dr. Henry Ewunono, in an earlier segment of the show,
yes,
legitimately argued with passion, the idea that healthcare, should be a matter of right, and I think there is need for a clarification in terms of policy conceptualization in Nigeria, that healthcare is not a commodity. It's not like a choice wine or designer shoe or luxury car, that you can say those who can apply market forces, those who can afford it,
exactly,
can go and buy it. Yes, it's a matter of right. Everybody should have access, to it, regardless of your class, regardless of the means, whether you are earning an income or you're not having an income. It should be, and that the access to medical care, should be a major index, of measuring development. The development is not a matter of GDP or fish rating,
absolutely,
or all this econometric thing that you talk about, foreign, the exchange rate of currency or whatever. All these technical issues, they matter. They don't matter, if you don't focus on human development. And the major pillar of human development is healthcare. As you measure the development,
correct,
in fact, even the place of a society in human civilization,
yes,
so that whether a society is civilized or not, but part of the measurement should be how many members, of the human population there, have access, to healthcare, and that is why the theme, for this year is quite apt, that it should be health as right,
right.
And if you look at the Nigerian constitution, it's a matter of socio-economic justice. In the chapter 2 of the Constitution, where you have the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, one of the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy in Nigeria is that of healthcare. That everybody should have healthcare.
Yes.
The only drawback is that it is not justiciable. Just like Dr. Ewunono said in the morning, that the step we need to take now is to really move further, in terms of legislation, so that every Nigerian will have the right, to seek for health right and compel, policymakers, to provide it,
yes,
and that will require a whole lot of reorientation, philosophically, in terms of policy making, such that the idea of health, when you have a governor has just been elected. When you talk of healthcare, is that okay? You can award 1 or 2 hospital contracts, they have it, and then you say you're executing health policy, Rather, and then on the day of anniversary, then you show photographs of hospitals, one healthcare center that has been repainted, or you have fixed the window. But no, that shouldn't be anymore. It should be that you want to measure the success of a governor or a president in office. Is that what percentage of Nigerians, have access, to quality healthcare, and it is this reorientation also that will also address what essentially are symptoms of the sickness of the healthcare system. That is that, all is not well, like Dr. Muloni said,
yes.
with the healthcare system, that some of the things we deal with, like you talk of the emigration, of healthcare personnel, strikes in the system, and the rest. All these are, just symptoms, of the malaise, that is afflicting the system itself, And what is important?
Less than 10% within this the healthcare insurance, scheme.
Exactly.
Less than 10%.
Exactly. That puts it in a very graphic form, And that in itself is a measure of injustice, socio-economic injustice that takes place, Because when we talk of justice, people think everything that is just the formal, socio-political justice, that you detain somebody unjustly or whatever, that the denying a majority of the people access to quality medical care is a gross socio-economic justice that is afflicting the Nigerian system. That is developing the system. And to struggle against this injustice, should be a task for all.
Absolutely.
And that is why the kind of advocacy, that Dr. Owen, you are making it very important.
Yes.
And that an occasion like this, should be a proper one, for introspection. Both for the people and the policymakers, around that, to actually examine that we are not doing well. Just like you said, that if just maybe less than 10% of the population, has access to, health insurance, that you will have it. The other story, of the day, is the crisis, if you like, in the power sector, and like you remarked earlier, especially on the front pages of other newspapers, the Guardian, Vanguard, Tribune, and others. Again, this calls for a review, or rather a reflection on the reform that is taking place in the sector. Because electricity, again, is just a symptom of the fundamental problem, that's afflicting this system. That the reform, there's a distortion in that reform, and if you have a reform in place, I think what is important is that at every point you should be able to measure whether you are achieving results, or not. Because, for instance, 11 years after privatization, people you onboard NEPA,
of NEPA,
were parceled up. Being parceled up, and people became owners of generating companies and distribution companies. How can you be in the business of distributing power? And after 11 years, one of the most basic tool, of that business, which is meter. You cannot provide, for this,
I don't understand.
And we are not asking question whether this reform is working or not. How can you be in the business of distributing power and you can't provide meter to your consumer, which is the basic connection between the provider of the service and the consumer. And at 11 years after privatization, we are still talking of estimated billing.
Honestly.
This is just scandalous,
Even when the cost of meters is arbitrary, from 220-something now going to 300,000, make it available. We can find.
So what I'm saying is that there is a need to fundamentally review the whole process. Because essentially what we are doing is that, when in the days of NEPA, one of the criticisms against NEPA, that once you apply the privatization is the magic wand, is the silver bullet, you solve the problem. Now you are saying that after privatization, you have not solved it.
11 years
after. Now, even if you don't want to even reverse a privatization, for whatever reason, whether ideological or not. The thing is that it is not it's not achieving the result. There is need to examine it, because one of the criticisms against NEPA was that it was inefficient. And today what we are witnessing actually is that consumers are being made to pay for the inefficiency of a private businessman.
Absolutely.
So if it was wrong to pay for the inefficiency of NEPA,
of a monopoly,
it cannot be right. It cannot be right to be paying for the inefficiency of private sector, because all those yields that people yields of NEPA, they are still there in the system.
Totally.
What has changed now is that whereas before it was, it could be associated with the public sector, because NEPA was a publicly owned company, you know.
Yes.
So the same ills, you know, of corruption, of inefficiency, you know, or you know, of lack of, you know, failed promises.
Yeah.
You know, the idea was that you bring in capital
Yes.
into it, you know, technological know-how, and then you be, power will be distributed. You know, now 11 years after, we are not seeing results.
Okay,
you know?
I
think it is not too early, and,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not. I mean, it will not. I mean, nobody can be accused of impatience. If after 11 years, yes, consumers cannot be accused of impatience.
Okay, what's
if
your
after
word
11 years,
to the
the
minister,
reform is not delivering.
Bayo Adelabu?
Yes,
A lot of people think that it looks rather overwhelmed and a bit confused, you know, which might be the reason why is using analogies and references and examples that appear insulting to many Nigerians. What's your word to him?
Absolutely, Steve. What we're having on display is a crisis of policy conceptualization and articulation. So you can see that on the basis of you know, understanding of the policy itself and articulating it.
Yeah.
You can't see that being on display. And that's why I'm saying that, you know, there is need, you know, for the government actually to order for a thorough audit of the reform process, you know, for the purpose of fundamental review.
Yeah.
There is need to. I mean, the issues involved, you know, are not just technical issues of that you raise price or whatever. You know, they are philosophical. They are philosophical. I mean, they are highly conceptual. You know. So those who are in charge, you know, of policy making, you know,
yes,
really have to brace up and meet, you know, the expectations of Nigeria. I think what is happening in the power sector is unacceptable.
Totally so.
It's unacceptable, and there is a limit to rationalization. You know, and we have to put a stop, you know, this idea of, you know, making people to pay for the inefficiency, you know, of businessmen. Yeah.
And to buttress your point, sir, I would like to draw the attention of viewers to the brilliant article by Waziri Adio on the back page of today's This Day.
Absolutely.
Fantastic analysis.
I also recommend it. I also recommend it too. Yeah.
Yes. I think before we move, because we haven't taken the main headline there,
the PDP.
which is the PDP story. No, I'm really interested in what Mr. KK has to say about that.
Maybe I'm more interested in development than all this politics.
All the politics
that are so.
Wike.
Yes. The two. I mean, we can combine the NNPP story and PDP. You know, I think what is important is that it's good news. Yeah. That these parties, you know, almost, not almost, you know, a year, more than a year after the last, you know, general elections, you know, the parties now are going back to the drum board to see, looking at their structure. And I think it's very important for the health of democracy, you know, to have strong party, you know. I mean, Nigeria operates a multi-party democracy. Yeah. So it is the interest, you know, of the system, it's the interest of democracy that you have, you know, very strong parties, you know. The only thing to add is that, as you can see from the agenda, I mean, you can make a contrast between PDP and NNPP. NNPP in its last forum, which is reported on the front page of This Day, you know, for instance, is actually now focusing on policy. That you know, parties now, at least for now, temporarily, they should exit the campaign, you know, election mode, you know, and now focus on policy. This is the time, you know, for parties to be engaged, you know, to participate in the debate, you know, on the various policy options, you know, to see what the government in place is doing right, you know, and can do better. What is not doing right, and, you know, could be corrected. You know. So, and this challenge particularly is for PDP, which is the largest party, you know, in opposition. That should be able to put itself in order, and should be seen to be part of the necessary policy debate that should be taking place in the country today.
So let's quickly look at This Day Style. The cover of This Day Style on this Sunday is Bimbo Oloyede, the iconic broadcaster who in 1975 took her first steps into the world of broadcasting with NBC TV, and by 1976, as a pioneer of MTA's network's news team, she shattered a glass ceiling, becoming the first woman to anchor network news on Nigerian television. And we have a full spread of her in This Day Style this week, which is honestly amazing. And we also have stories about age gaps in relationships, how much is too much, and early signs of autism that every parent should recognize. So this day style is filled with information this Sunday, and I think we can move to possibly another
newspaper. Before we move on, it's important to acknowledge the beautiful work that the editor of this style has done again, with the cover of today's paper on Bimbo Lady. We can't be tired of congratulating her, one of the icons of the tube. She was here on the morning show a few weeks to her birthday, as part of the activities to raise 100 million naira towards cancer research in Nigeria. And that was the theme of our 70th birthday celebration. At the three-part event itself, I mean, you'll be wowed when you encounter practically all the icons of the Nigerian, TV industry, particularly those lovely ladies who are now grandmas, Ruth Benamesia, Opia, all the other, our contemporaries, they showed up to support her, and I just like the fact that great people like this will at 70 will say, this isn't just about birthday for me, this is about a cause, for humanity. And I think that was a brilliant thing that Auntie Bimbo Oloye did in celebrating her 70th birthday. Congratulations to her again.
Permit me to say briefly, congratulations to Auntie Bimbo Oloye, an icon of journalism, an icon of broadcasting. The very great work that the editor of this day style, has done. I think is something that I would like to recommend, to the readers, who are interested in the evolution of the Nigerian broadcast industry. Because when you remember that way back in 1976, that was about 48 years ago, Auntie Bimbo was the first person to appear, on a network, television, to present, a program, So a lot of history, and also a way of actually seeing the development of that industry. So when you go through the interview, you'll find, a lot of materials there.
Okay.
So congratulations to Auntie Bimbo.
Okay, let's quickly look at two papers together, Sunday Telegraph and the Sunday Tribune. Three key stories from the Telegraph story, I believe, 3 or 4 actually. The banner headline, War in States, Governors battle predecessors, Godfathers, others, Kano, Kaduna, Edo, Rivers, Cross River, Benue in supremacy fight, debt, structure control, disobedience, top tussle. Oti, we inherited huge debt, not borrowing. I think this is a Sunday Telegraph trying to focus on what is happening in many of the states, how the current governors are dealing with either Godfathers or dealing with their predecessors. And on top of that story, APC, NWC member workers accuse Ganduje's aides of corruption. Say aides use NWC to solicit, collect funds without remittance. Party spokesman Muka keeps mum. Chair CPS don't write everything you hear. I think that there is this corruption thing always flying around Ganduje. We have the current party and the governor of Kano State, instituting something against him. And here you also have APC members, where he's the chairman, accusing people around him of corruption. So of course, allegations they are, but there must be something a bit untidy when you have to be the focus of corrupt allegations all the time. Very quickly, too, you like to say something? Okay. Kwakwanso, only military can end insecurity. This is a man saying that, no, you just have to go all out and fight. And we have yet another story there. El-Rufai under pressure to accept ambassadorial posting. So we have Telegraph saying he's under pressure to accept ambassadorial posting. Others on social media, are saying that there is a possibility of an El-Rufai Peter Obi thing for 2027. Quickly, for Sunday Tribune, 16 aspirants jostle for Ondo APC Guba ticket. And of course, the sitting governor, Aida Tiwa, is one of them. My boss, Barrister Jimo Ibrahim, you know, is also one of them, and he says that he's the most qualified, you know, with PhD from Oxford and all those things. Interesting stories here and there, you know. Your last 1 minute, sir, KK.
Okay, last thing I don't manage to correct. Of course, on a lighter note, as an ombudsman, you don't expect me to join in the media trial of anybody. So the Ganduje story for me is a no-go area. I'm opposed to media trial, you know, of anybody. If you have any allegation or whatever, you report to the police or the anti-corruption agent, and then the matter should be taken to court.
That's what the Kano state government has done.
Yes, I'm saying. So, besides, I mean, beyond that, I think it is improper, you know, for anybody to draw any conclusion on that is the court verdict. Okay. Now, quickly on the war in the states, I think it's important to stress this, that in all this war of governors and their predecessors and, you know, fighting war, you know, that if you look closely into this thing, you don't see any substance in it, no policy. So if a former governor, you know, is you know, critical of his successor based on policy that maybe, okay, I'm pursuing this program. I mean, while I was in office, I pursued this program on healthcare or education, and now it is being derailed. I mean, it's understandable. But when we just talk about this power for power's sake, you know, control, you know, power. I mean, there are
show of shame, I think.
Thank you. I can't put it better.
Absolutely.
You know, and that is why people become cynical, you know, about politics. If it's just about power, grabbing of what purpose?
All right.
I mean, power for what?
Yeah.
You know, for what purpose? Yeah.
Thank you so much, KK. Thanks as always. This is brilliant.
We
really have to go now, and that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching, and do stay safe. I'm Steve Ayorinde.